I got asked a question this past week about how we address clients with knee pain. I gave kind of a quick and dirty answer there, and today I thought it'd be more fun to go a little bit more in depth on where we start at, where we end at, the steps in between. But real quick, quick disclosure, we are not physical therapists here. We are personal trainers, so what we're really good at is helping you get strong, get lean, build some muscle tone, and just working around common issues like knee pain or back pain is something we do versus the therapist where you're strictly there for knee pain and don't really care how your arms look or your waistline looks. So with that caveat all the way, here's our 9-point plan for figuring out what we need to do to get you feeling good so you can get rid of that pain and you can work out hard and get in the best shape possible. So step 1 of 9 is it's called a PAR-Q, or a health questionnaire. And basically, I just want to know, why does that knee hurt? Or a better way of asking it is, did you fall down and hit it, or go skiing, or miss a step, or is it wear and tear where you're not really sure what it is? Just over time, your knees have gotten worse and worse. Again, versus this acute, I twisted my knee stepping off in a dog hole. That's important. If it's that acute issue, like I twisted my knee, we need to talk with a doctor, make sure there isn't some major physical issues going on in there, such as a partially torn tendon. So let's say that's a partially torn tendon. There's no way for me to figure that out. Either A, it's torn, I don't know, it's partially torn, and we start doing a lot of stretches and movements, and then we tear the thing, and now you're worse off than when you started, and that's gotta suck. Or 2, we simply are never able to get the stability we want, and we can't figure out why does it feel better. And it's we have a partially torn tendon. That's gonna take a while just for that to heal in and of itself. Forget the exercise. So we gotta start there. Is this a wear and tear issue? Or is it an acute, I can remember how I heard it. If it's acute, let's just have a doctor step in real quickly, make sure there's no structural damage going on in there. If they say, hey, no, it's all good, nothing's torn, then come back to me and we'll continue. After that, step 2 of 9 is I want to go through the exercise history. Oftentimes, we're just choosing exercises that are probably causing more harm than good. Now, some people might be able to get away with that for whatever reason, but for you, it makes your knees hurt. So one of the ones that comes to mind immediately is known as the leg extensions, where you sit in the machine and you basically straighten your leg out like this with the weight over your feet. That one right there is probably just going to keep causing more harm than good, and we got to get rid of that. We got to get rid of other exercises that are going to be counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish. So going through the exercise history, just seeing if there's any aha, or wow, that needs to go, guys, or other activities. Sometimes it's well, gosh, you wear heels 365 days out of the year for the last 30 years. That's not helping. We need to cut that out. Once we go on through our PAR-Q and our exercise history, next is just a quick exercise screen. So I'm looking at 2 things. One, I'm looking at what's known as anterior versus posterior tilt. Anterior tilt means that the front of your pelvis is lower than the back of your pelvis. Posterior tilt means the back of your pelvis is lower than the front of your pelvis. 999 out of 1,000 times, if not more, folks are in anterior tilt. And that's because of modern society, sitting in chairs, wearing heels, things like that. So it just means the pelvis is tilting this way. I need to start tilting it back that way. Again, I don't want to guess though, even though it's 999 out of 1,000, a quick eyeball of it, and we'll know which way we need to move the body. And next I want to just go through different exercises and see which ones may hurt. Now, I'll show them and I'll say, hey, if this is going to hurt, don't do it. But otherwise, let's just give it a shot. It's remember when. Now we know, okay, that stuff hurts. We need to go do these other exercises that aren't going to hurt. So now we can get our fitness going. From there, once I've got their exercise history, I've got that PAR-Q, I know what kind of injuries they've had. I know where we're looking at anterior or posterior tilt. Next, I like to start with something known as foam rolling. It's also called SMR, self-myofascial release. We target the thighs and we target the calves. So basically they say that the knee is a dumb joint. It's controlled by the hips. It's controlled by the ankles. So we go above it. We do different foam rolling techniques on the top of the thighs, and then we go below it and we work on those calves. So just trying to loosen up the muscles above and below it. So it's going to track a little bit better and it's going to move a little better and it doesn't hurt. After that, I like to focus on different ab exercises. So particularly I like dead bugs because they're almost impossible to get wrong. It's very few people I've met that would have trouble with that, or if they do have trouble, we can coach them into how to do it properly pretty quickly versus a plank, which is a lot harder. People can't see where they're at, trying to get up too high, too low, and sometimes that even causes knee pain in and of itself. So I've just had really good luck with that. And the goal of that ab exercise is, if they're in that anterior tilt, is to just posterior tilt the pelvis a little bit more. Once we got that ab exercise in, then I like to engage the glutes, the butt muscles, if you will. And the butt muscles do pretty much what the abs are doing. They're both trying to tilt the pelvis to a little bit more optimal alignment. as that pelvis tilts a little bit optimal alignment, we said earlier that the knee is a dumb joint. It's going to do whatever the pelvis and hip area is telling it. So as long as it's tilted like this, it's going to go down the kinetic chain, and it's probably going to hurt you. But as we tilt it in a little bit better position, you got a little bit better control, you're able to walk good, as my clients like to say it. Now, I like to do the ab exercise first. I find people can feel that quicker and get it engaged versus doing a glute exercise first. Simply because every time we're sitting down, our butt muscles are basically stretched, and so we end up what's known as gluteal amnesia, where to save their life, like people cannot feel that muscle engage, and we'll sit here and we're both getting a little frustrated because we've tried 100 times and still can't feel it. If I do that dead bug exercise first, I do a couple variations of it, just really get their abs engaged. Now they can kind of tilt their pelvis a little bit. Now they're in a little bit better position for a glute exercise. After that, as long as they can tolerate it, I like to do what's known as a hip flexor mobility. So a hip flexor is the opposite we just talked about. It's moving us into that anterior tilt versus the glutes and the abs, which are trying to posterior tilt us a little bit more. So I like to save that stretch for later, because there's this analogy I heard from a guy named Dean Somerset of when you're trying to stretch something, it's like a slingshot where you have to have a very solid base, and then you can pull against that base and stretch it. Well, that base would be engaging their abs and engaging their glutes. So if I don't teach them that first, and I try to stretch through that hip flexor, basically their joints are just moving around, nothing's actually stretching, and we're not really being very effective with our time. But once they learn how to engage the abs, they learn how to engage the glutes, now I go to like whichever hip flexor mobilization they can handle. So there's different levels of it. So I'm going to start with like the most basic level, and then just move into like more difficult ones if they can. If they can't, we'll stick with that one until they can. Then finally, if they're ready for this, again, this is a little bit, it's hard to do like a broad, here's how we approach it, because it does depend upon that person, how they're responding. If they're responding, but not like night and day, I'll just go through those again. I'll do the foam rolling, I'll do the ab exercise, the glute exercise, and the hip flexor movement. I'll just make a little circuit out of it. And if what we're doing is going to help, it should help virtually immediately. Like into that first round, into that second and third round, on a 1 to 10 scale, if they're at an 8, I expect them to get down to like a 2. I expect to have magnificent improvement. If not, I might be the wrong guy and I have someone I can refer to. If this is going to work, it's going to work really quickly. Now, if we make it through that stuff, then I just do what's known as integration. It's a compound movement. So I either like the squat or I like the step up. Either one, we use the range of motion we can, and we just say, hey, now when you do this, can you feel your butt working? Can you tuck your pelvis? Can you drive through the floor correctly and not feel your knee give you the middle finger every single rep? And whether it's the squat or the step up, just depends a little bit upon their balance. Again, back to like that health history is kind of how I decide there. The squat's a little bit more basic. The one-legged, the step up's a little more challenging. If we make it to that integration step point, then again, we just turn this into a circuit. So it's foam roll, ab exercise, glute exercise, stretch the hip flexor, do either the squat or the step up, and then repeat. And again, this should get significantly better within the session itself. And if it does, great. Come back tomorrow. Come back the next day. Work on these drills throughout the day. We're on the right track, and I've got no doubt that in the very near future, you're going to be feeling just fine. And then we can start to load some of those movements. We can make the ab exercise harder. We can make the glute exercise harder. Now we're training. Now we're starting to be a little bit more proactive and get in shape versus reacting. Just want to be able to walk good. And that would be how we approach it. Outside of that, if you'd like some help, there's a couple different ways you can get in touch with us. You could just send me a text message or Facebook message. We can get some touch there, see if I think I can help you. And if not, where would I send you? Where would I start if not us? You can give me a phone call if you like, and we can get on the phone 5 or 10 minutes, chat. We can go through a lot of these questions. We can figure a lot of that out over the phone and just, again, see if it's worth our time to pursue something together. Or, again, perhaps I could point you in the direction of someone who's a little bit more qualified than me for that. Or if you live in the area, you're nearby, work near the studio, just swing by the studio. We'll spend an hour, and I'll take you through this entire system. And like I said, if I can help you, I'm going to be able to help you virtually immediately. Like, we should see a change today. We should start feeling better today. That's it. I'll be back soon. Have a great day.